So I want to tell you a quick story about my daughter and something that made me realize something that as a country we just can't put up with anymore. When the BLM protests first started going on, my two kids and my wife, we went to the protest, and I was like, I'll support the BLM protest. And about halfway through, it just wasn't feeling that way anymore. It felt to be more hate towards cops than supporting blacks than anything, and about anger and violence, and maybe that's what protests mean to be. But there was this sign in the protest that said ACAB, ACAB, and I saw dozens of these signs in the protest, and it means all cops are bastards. And my daughter, who's dyslexic, struggles with reading, but she reads everything she sees in her constant push to improve her reading, and she'll read everything out. And after a while, there were so many of those signs that my daughter actually saw the ACAB sign and had to explain what those were. I didn't say it was all cops are bastards because she didn't know what that meant, so I said it's all cops are bad. And she got very upset. She goes, "That's not true. Most cops are good." And she started her really good vocal and screaming. I had to calm her down. And I literally silenced my daughter on what was actually right. Because it was a very bigoted, prejudiced statement that does more harm than good. And after I saw that sign in the protest, I didn't go to any more BLM protests. I had no interest in putting a sign in my yard. And I've always been a big supporter of supporting minorities or anybody else, just supporting humanity. So a couple days later, we were walking down the street, on our street, and I saw ACAB on the back of the sign. Actually, I didn't see it. My daughter saw it, and she got mad again. And she was really screaming, "How can they put that up there?" And I go, "I want to put a sign in our front yard that says, most cops are good." And I said, "No, you can't do that. I'm sorry." And she was really upset on the whole walk home. We got back home. And that's when I decided I had enough. I said, you know what? She's not putting up with this. She's stating the obvious. That we can't have this equally bigoted and prejudiced statement that my 11-year-old can figure out, but is Americans or liberals or whoever we are, we make excuses for it. We silence ourselves, worried about the retribution we'll get from it, the backlash, when it's blatantly wrong. It's horrible. So at that moment, I decided no more. And I went down the street and I called the cops and I said, I have this stop sign on my street that says ACAB. And I really sorry what y'all going for as the police. I support y'all, and y'all are an essential worker in our town as anybody else is. And I don't like how people are demonizing your town, and I want to take this off, but I know it's private property. I want to make sure I didn't get in trouble. And I said, I've got this turpentine, this ladder, and I'm going to do it. He said, well, I'll do one better. And one of the policemen came down and met me there, and we both got up on the step ladder, and we worked for about 30 minutes and scrubbed off this spray painted black letters of ACAB. And a lot of people know what that meaning is, but they were too scared. My 11-year-old's obvious about it, but people were scared. They'd make excuses for it, and the ones that don't, I guess that's okay, but in our own street, and they just left it there for weeks. And it really got me thinking. So I decided last week, after seeing a lot of unfair unjustified, blind hate towards cops, especially with that cop in Columbus, Ohio, that did his job and had to shoot a 16-year-old because she was coming at another one with a knife. I said I had it. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to put up with this crap anymore. I said, I'm going to try to put together a force of people, of brave, fed up people that want to stand up for the police and quit this demonizing of police. And I put a note out on our listserv, which has hundreds of people, maybe 500, lots of people on this listserv. And I explained the whole story I just explained to you. And I said, you know what? I've decided to make a list of all the places in our town I have seen the word ACAB. And that is on street signs, that is on bus stops, that is on fences, that is down on pipes, that is on train trestles. It is all over our town, and I've seen dozens of them. I decided I'm going to get rid of all of them, and I'm trying to get a group together of people that want to help me basically erase hate in our town. And I'm calling this group Savvy Against Hate. Because Savvy is the name of my daughter who woke me up. Who, for a while, I was being blind to it or scared to say something. And she's the one, my 11-year-old was the one who got me to say, you know what, this is wrong. And she said, you know what, Daddy, you need to do something about it. And her outrage got me to do it. So I said, I'm going to name this group Savvy Against Hate after her. And go around town, take turpentine and whatever we have, and erase all of them. And then I'll make a roundabout town and try to find all the other ones. And then spend a Saturday and go around and literally erase the hate in our town, because it's in a lot of places. And I put it out on listserv. And when I got it back, I got like 4 responses back. And all people made was excuses for it. And in my email, I talked about how I do think there's a reason for Black Lives Matter. And there are times when I think they are treated unfairly. And there's unjustified hate towards blacks and unfair treatment in police departments and other situations. But that does not justify doing an equally hateful, racist, bigot comment. And all I got back from responses were people making excuses and getting mad at me and defining that I need to stand up for blacks when I did that in the beginning. And taking shots at me and saying, something's wrong with you. No. You seem to only care about yourself. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on with this world? An 11-year-old, they can see this. And yet these doctors and lawyers and professors in our town are just blind and make excuses for a statement that says all cops are bastards and thinks it's okay and are scared. Think it okay to be scared is one thing, but to think it's okay and make an excuse for it is another thing. And if I have to do it by myself, I will start going around and erasing the word ACAB everywhere I can in my town. And I don't know if in your town you see ACAB written around your town. I mean, what if that said ABAB? All blacks are bad. ABAB, not ACAB, ABAB. I guarantee you a lot of people would have a lot of outrage toward that, and they'd be erasing. That's a racist statement. You can't have that. But they would erase it. But ACAB is bigoted and prejudice, and yet they don't say anything about it. They just tolerate it. So like I said, I'm going to go around my town, and I'm going to find that, like I call it, it's called Savvy. Savvy Against Hate, in respect and honor and tribute to my daughter for waking me up, an 11-year-old. And I hope you go across your town, if you see places where that's, and erase this defiling dehumanizing, demonizing word. I mean, not word, but acronym. So I just want to tell y'all about that. And I hope it inspires y'all to do something. Like I said, 500 people, and I got not one person to agree to help, to get rid of these words. It made me sad, but it made me say, you know what? I don't give a fuck. I'll do it all by myself if I have to. So have a good night.